Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and sorry for the short absence, I was having a cold, but now I'm back and let's get to the news. For 492 days, Ukraine defends itself against the forces of the Russian invasion. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky believes that the rebellion of Wagner Group mercenaries shows the weakness of Russia, reports Ukrainska Pravda. In an interview with El Mundo, the president said that Ukrainian troops have killed 21,000 and wounded 80,000 of Wagner mercenaries over the course of the war in Ukraine. He added that there were two categories of Wagner fighters, professional mercenaries and those drafted from prisons, their cannon fodder. Zelensky said such colossal losses suggest the number of Russian mercenaries engaged. Volodymyr Zelensky said that Ukraine wants to show results on the battlefield before the upcoming NATO summit in Vilnius on 11th of July, reports Channel 5. In an interview with RTVE, he said that every meter of advancement cost lives. During the conversation, Zelensky also admitted that the plans of the armed forces of Ukraine to launch a counteroffensive against Russia have slowed down in recent months due to heavy rains. In this regard, he called on European partners to continue providing arms support to Ukraine. Answering a question about US support for Ukraine and the possible change in US foreign policy if the Republican Party wins the 2024 elections, Zelensky expressed confidence that they will continue with their support. Reports Ukrainska Pravda. At the same time, Zelensky added that there are dangerous signals from some representatives of the Republican Party, but they will deal with it. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, in the apps where you are listening to this podcast: Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and others. This really helps more people to find the highlights from Ukraine and learn the truth about Russia's invasion. The Washington Post informs that CIA Director William Burns conducted a secret visit to Ukraine earlier this month, reports Bukvy. According to the sources, Ukrainian authorities revealed a strategy to him to regain Russian-occupied territories and begin ceasefire talks with Moscow by the end of the year. The visit included meetings with President Volodymyr Zelensky and Ukraine's top intelligence officials. Military planners in Kyiv have conveyed to Burns and others strong confidence that their goal was to recapture significant territory by the autumn, move artillery and missile systems to the border with Russia-controlled Crimea, push further into the east of Ukraine, and then begin talks with Moscow for the first time since peace talks failed last March. Secretary of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council Oleksiy Danilov said that the civilized world will consider Russia's probable terrorist attack on the occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant as the use of nuclear weapons against the civilian population, reports Radio Liberty. He stressed that Ukraine will watch very carefully if it happens, which reaction would the world have following these events. According to him, the world's reaction to the blowing up of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant did not correspond to the scale of the terrorist attack that Ukraine suffered. Commenting on the likelihood of a Russian terrorist attack at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, Danilov noted that it is difficult to say now because these people are not predictable. They act outside the boundaries of any norms and rules of the world community. Denmark announced a new military aid package for Ukraine, reports Ukrinform. The new package worth over 170 million euros includes, among other things, anti-aircraft missiles, demining equipment, and funds for the purchase of artillery ammunition. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban declared that he opposes the European Commission's plan to provide 50 billion euros more financial aid for Ukraine, reports European Pravda. He said that Hungarians will not give more money to Ukraine until Ukrainians say where the previous around 70 billion euros worth of funds had gone. Orban added that Hungary has still not gained access to the money in the fund, which is being financed from the joint loan by the European countries. Hungary and Poland are the only EU member states that not receive money for rebuilding, which has been blocked by the European Commission due to allegations that the governments of these two countries harm democracy and the rule of law. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We are a commercial initiative of just two people, and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.